Thank you. So my family is one of the Afghan families who decided, well, I'm not sure if they had a choice to stay in Afghanistan during the war or they chose, whether they had no choice to leave the country or they chose to stay. I'm not sure which is right, but it doesn't matter. Anyways, I was born and raised in Afghanistan, Kabul specifically, and I'm gonna kind of take you through my personal life timeline, if you will, and then focus more on what I'm doing after Middlebury College. I was 6 years old when the Taliban regime took over Afghanistan, and for that, during Taliban regime, I went to secret school. My first 6 years of education came from secret schooling, and when I was 11 years old, I went to real school for the first time in 2002. In 2004, when I was 14, I decided to learn English. By the end of that year, I was selected as one of the 40 students out of probably 2,000 or 3,000 students nationwide to come to the United States on a scholarship program funded by the U.S. State Department for a one-year high school exchange program, and I ended up in Wisconsin for that year. And I was anticipating to study my sophomore year of high school in the U.S., but when I got to Wisconsin, they decided to, I'm not sure how it worked out, but I was placed as a senior in that school, and still was planning to go back to Afghanistan and complete my junior and senior year of high school in Afghanistan after this one-year exchange program. But when I went to Afghanistan, they looked at my transcript. It said 12th grade. And they said, well, congratulations, you're done with high school. So I'm not really sure whether I skipped the last 2 years of high school or whether I've not finished high school at all, but I don't have a high school diploma, and I can now openly say that now that I'm out of college. But when I went back to Afghanistan in 2006, was middle of the year, and as I said, I was all of a sudden done with high school, so I decided to work for that year. And I worked with the same organization that sent me to the US on that exchange program. And Liz, at the beginning of this morning, talked about surrounding yourselves with mentors, people who can really help you and guide you in your life, people who have great experiences. And that person, or that they can be many or different, so many people, either give you suggestions that you take and then you make something really great out of that, or just show up at the right time in your life. And for me, this person was Ted Achilles, and his actual name is Ted. It's not Ted. He, in his own terms, flunked out of retirement. He's in his mid-70s, currently lives in Afghanistan for the past 8 years, flunking retirement, as he says. And I was working with him in this organization, and he said, why don't you apply to Middlebury College? And I said, excuse me, Mulberry? And exactly, he laughed as well, except louder, because he knows that mulberries are really popular in Afghanistan, both fresh and dried mulberries. And he said, no, it's Middlebury, it's a school in Vermont. I'm sure that he said something about the value of liberal arts education and how, and I should look into these 4 years as learning how to learn, but that totally did not register at that time, given how different our college system is, or university system in Afghanistan is. But to make the long story short, I applied and I was admitted. My first day on campus was first day of orientation. I absolutely fell in love with Middlebury. My 4 years at Middlebury were, given that I did not finish high school, I realized when I came here, were the most challenging and yet the most rewarding years of my life. And I'm not sure if I can say this too soon, but I would totally do it again. Last year, when I was a senior at Middlebury, probably around this time, Ted sent me an email, and he said, Shabana, I'm in the US on a quick tour of schools, and I'm driving from New York to Rhode Island. I would love to stop by on the way for a quick chat. Would you please make some time? I really need to see you. I said, okay, Ted, let's meet. He was coming a certain day, and I think as far as I remember, I had only lunch break between classes. And we went out to lunch in town. And I'm not sure if some of you who know me, I'm the kind of person has been talking about, I want to join politics at some point in my early 30s. I want to be a governor of my own province in Afghanistan, and blah, 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 blah. And he says, and now Ted in Afghanistan, he started this organization called Sola, and he started in 2008. Sola is an acronym for School of Leadership Afghanistan. And I was honored to name it Sola. Sola means peace in my language. And I was on the board of directors ever since its founding in 2008. So he came up to me and he said, Shabana, I would like you to be the first head of school, Afghan head of school at Sola. And he said, would you like to be called the head of school or headmistress? And I'm just looking at him. I said, okay. He's giving me more details about, what it entails and what to expect, and talking to me, updating me on the progress he has made so far with his school. Anyways, he goes, and I have to come back to class. And given that I was working on my thesis at that time, and just like a typical senior, not sure what next year is going to look like, I'm not sure. I think I didn't have time to think about it at the time. So it was just one of the floating things. Okay, Sola, head of school or headmistress, whatever. Went on with my thesis, and there's a big number of Afghan students at Middlebury. Some before me, and some are still students. Two of my own sisters are actually sophomore and freshman here at Middlebury. And in one of my conversations with one of my Afghan friends, I will not be specific, she said, Shabana, it could take a single bullet to get rid of you in Afghanistan. Do you want to waste your life like that? I mean, think about the all-nighters you're pulling here at Middlebury, and then just go to Afghanistan and get killed just because someone cannot stand an as educated woman as you. And all of these messages, what am I going to do after Middlebury, this, and ever since I came to the US in 2005, people would ask, are you planning to go back to Afghanistan? That's always a question I got from everybody. And I not only said, I'm not sure, or I never said I'm not sure, or I will, or I'm thinking about it. I said, yes, I am going back to Afghanistan. Always said that. And that was the year I was feeling, oh my God, is this going to happen to me again? Like some Afghan students who decide to stay back, even though they say they're going to go back. So that was one of the fears I had. I had some other job offers and some leadways to certain jobs, but other than that, I wasn't very sure what I was going to do, and this was still, I'm talking about graduation. Anyways, mid-June, a month after graduation, I decided to go back to Afghanistan. Still didn't have a job, but not even talked about the details of being the head of school at Sola with TED, but went home. So going from 4 years of a state where people talk about more cows than people to a city of more cars than people, from a state where there are no billboards to a city of advertising boards every 10 feet. It was quite an adjustment, and I was pretty sick the first month, and I was relaxing and was really behind with emails. One day I got online and saw that I had an email from one of my informants, one of the women I interviewed the year before for my thesis. And I got scared and excited at the same time. Did I do something wrong? Did I publish her name? Or does she have something new to tell me? But it was Zainab. And she wrote to me and said, Shabana, I heard that you're back in Afghanistan. I want to talk to you. And so I gave her my phone number, and we met in a cafe. And she was pale and very scared and very desperate. But she's also a very strong woman. By now, I call her my boss because she doesn't ask you, she tells you what to do if she needs something. And so she said, I need a place to stay. I need you to help me with my education. I'm not sure what I'm doing right now. And she knew about Sola. She knew about my involvement with Sola. And so I said, okay, I think you should, after speaking to her and, she's, to back up a little bit, Nargis came to Afghanistan that summer when I was interviewing her for my thesis, alone from Iran. She was born in Herat, went as a refugee to Iran. When she was in 12th grade, the Iranian government banned higher education for Afghans, and so she decided to come to Kabul alone without her family to continue with her education. And she's been telling me all these details, but I was slow to connect all these dots, so I asked her, well, tell me, why did you come to Kabul? And she said, I came to Kabul for better opportunities. And I asked her to repeat that. I said, I'm sorry? It sounded so great that someone is coming to Kabul for better opportunities. She said, I want to improve my life, and that's why I came to Kabul. And I felt like I had someone who I could connect to right away. So she now lives at this private school, Sola. That was, I kept my involvement with Sola as the board of directors, and now introduced Zainab to live there. And went on to get a job with the Afghan government as a consultant. Then Ted called me again and said, Shabana, I have someone who's recommended to me, and she does not speak English, and she's from Helmand. Could you please give her a call and interview her and see if she's the right person for Sola? I said, okay, Ted. I will give her a call. And I called Palwasha. Now, the person who recommended Palwasha to us wrote the following. I will give you a minute to read that. obviously she was so brilliant. I spoke to her on the phone. I knew she was the person to come. So she came for the orientation day, and her brother brought her from Helmand. I said, how did you get here? And they said, we drove. Said, oh, how was the security? Did you guys face any problem? I said, no, nothing. Just there was a military convoy ahead of us, and one of their cars was blasted on the way. But thank God we were far away, and it didn't harm us. And I said, oh, welcome to Kabul. I'm glad you're here. And she came to Sola, and at Sola, students have to abide by language pledge, and they speak English only. Palwasha, not speaking any English, she would say good morning in the morning. In the afternoon, you would see her, she would say good morning. In the evening, she would say good morning again. But she's a quick learner. She spoke with Zainab one day and said, Zainab, when was the last time you saw your family? Zainab, oh, probably a year and a half ago. I'm not sure. Palwasha picks up the phone, calls her mom. Mom, there is a girl who lives at Sola, and she hasn't seen her family over a year now. I should be fine here. You shouldn't be worried about me. Just before I came to the U.S. 2 days ago, Palwasha called me that she went on her own, taking a plane from Kabul to Helmand. No one escorted her. She went there, and she called me to say that she got there fine. Why am I talking specifically about these two girls? I mean, as you can imagine, after these, TED kind of managed to pull me really into Sola, and I ended up doing the recruiting or interviewing for the current class at Sola. Currently, there are 22 students representing 13 different provinces, and they each have amazing stories, each of them. They are the creators of their own path. And because of these girls, and I'm not exaggerating to say this, I can lead the path that I have chosen to take. It's because of the courage of these young women. They come from different backgrounds: Pashtun, Tajik, Uzbek, Hazara, Sunni, Shia, all these different students. And I'm sure they have, in their lives, heard different kind of stereotypes about each other. Currently, they are in the process of learning how to ask a question about someone without offending them. But it's really because of these girls that I am able to do what I do in Afghanistan. And to just say one more quick thing, my father asked, what is the topic of your talk? I said, embracing risk. And he said, I'm sorry? I said, embracing risk, embracing risk. And he said, my father is a general at the army, and you can picture a general talking back to his daughter. He said, you don't embrace risk, you fight it. And I think that is true for all these girls. And I was able to go back to Afghanistan not to embrace the fact that I could be killed by a bullet, but the fact that I could fight that, and that could not exist in the path that I have taken. So thank you very much for your attention.